Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Robert Ariaka. I work with Vision Group, Arua One TV, a new vision. We are here documenting the aspect of the peace West Nile particularly was able to attain, especially when the gun went silent. As a media person, you took the initiative to cover some of these stories. Tell us your name and what was your, let's start with the experience of covering, when the gun went silent in West Nile.
Thank you. My name is Kefa Atibuni, and to go straight to your question, I should say when we're talking about guns going silent in West Nile region, what all minds remember is the big peace agreement that was signed between the Uganda National Rescue Front 2 and the government of Uganda, and that was on the 24th of December, and you can imagine it was close to Christmas, so it was on Christmas Eve of the year 2002. And my experience, I don't know where to start, because to reach the peace talks, a lot of processes came along the way, and for us as journalists, not particularly me, it was a big fodder, news every day about what was transpiring. And I was only a CAP journalist, and I had graduated with bachelor's in mass communication. In fact, my graduation ceremony was in the same year, in the month of April 20th exactly, of 2002. So here I was, and Monta had made me their first retained correspondent in the West Nile region. So I was up to proving that I can do what they assigned me to do. And I think the peace agreement was the biggest assignment where I went solo for the monitor. And when they signed the peace agreement, it was my joy that I was able to cover it effectively, and the story ran the front page of the monitor. I remember that time, and it gave me, the feeling of a journalist when they're the ones behind the story. It's the same way I felt. But that doesn't mean that I was working alone in terms of people, other journalists who were covering. We had a team from New Vision. I'm just saying that for Monitor, I think because of the trust they had in me, I covered this agreement alone. Now, what do I remember? I can't say all the terms of these articles in the agreement, but what I can tell you is that that day when late General Bamze was given a chance to speak, he stood near a heap of guns that were to be either destroyed or handed over to UPDF. Then he spoke in a ring and said, "You people, you had asked me to abandon war and come to dialogue with government," which I did. And today I'm giving, and I want you to witness that I'm giving whatever I had, I'm handing them over today. And you couldn't believe it. In the pavilion, women and men who sat behind me it was a day of humiliations, the days of dancing, but one thing that struck me was people were equally shedding tears. I think they were tears of joy. I don't know, because tears were flowing in so many faces, and I believe they were tears of joy. I don't know what they were remembering in their minds, but that has lived with me up to now. The faces keep on playing my mind wherever they talk about the peace agreement, the tears, and the look at us. So that was it. About what I saw that day when Bamze signed the peace agreement.
In terms of the peace agreement, since it's the signing up to today, as a journalist, would you say when the gun went silent up to now, we have seen tremendous change in terms of development, especially the aspect of infrastructure, but also socioeconomic empowerment?
Yeah, I think to some extent. One is if you lived in West Nile those years of 2002, places along the border with South Sudan, where Bamze and team were operating, and the other combatants were operating from, especially the Zod area, before the government gave them the passage to come and settle in Bidibidi. There were a lot of, reports of rebels sneaking in, killing people, looting animals, and taking some people to work with them as in the bush. I don't know, they are not hostages, how do you call them? Forcing people to join the ranks of the rebels. That was very common. And living in Yumbe, particularly that time, was a scary thing. I remember I used to go and spend some nights there with my friend, the late Ahmed, who was a journalist with a New Vision. So we would go and stay in his home, and then he knew some of the people in the ranks, including people like the late Amis Akwaku. He was, I think, a political commissar of the Unrf too. People like Achikule Noah. So we built the kind of rapport with these people. So I believe that in terms of general peace, yes, it is evident that there are no such conflicts anymore in Yumbe and the borderlines. But in terms of infrastructure development, personally, I don't see very exceptional things. But the fact that Yumbe, the town is growing like any other town in Uganda and conflict-free now, maybe indicates that there is really progress in terms of physical infrastructural development around the area. And also one thing I remembered was that there were promises made, some were achieved immediately. I don't know how, whether others already being achieved. Like some people went to school under terms of the agreement. Scholarships were offered for further studies for 10 sons of either the ex-combatants or related people in that agreement. And one of the notable people who benefited from this scholarship was I don't want to say was, like, if he has passed on, is former area MP, Honorable Akbar Godi. Is a direct beneficiary. He studied in Kampala International University on the basis of that agreement. So this, and including the promise of the 4.2 billion sweetener, means that I know some part of that money was already released. People have been able to develop personally in their home states in terms of putting up houses, including, I think, late Bamze General himself. He has put houses near, if you, from Marua, you are reaching the district headquarters of Yumbe, on the right-hand side, you'll be able to see late Bamze's houses. And I have a strong belief that such money may have helped him and other colleagues to develop their personal lives.
As a journalist, what was your experience covering this, peace deal, comparing it to when there was no peace yet?
Yeah, this time round, my experience was, like I had said before, was that of okay, it made me a little anxious for a start, because this was a very big event. No peace agreement like this has ever been signed locally here, and I think it's an issue that other countries doing peace can benchmark from. So my feeling was, will I manage this? Would I tell the story correctly? Well, how will my editors, for example, judge what I have been able to report as news on this very, crucial day? So it made me a little anxious. But other stories, when these processes were going on, were not as such. We'll be able to go to Yumbe town. We'll be able to meet with because government already gave permission for the ex-combatants to establish relations with civilians. So they will organize meetings in the resource center, which we would attend and we will report on, and we will do this without that kind of fear or what other people are going to think about it, because it was more or less coming from our journalistic selves. But a peace agreement was a little different, that the editor had his eye on you for that day. So it was quite challenging. But what I can say is that our sources remained cooperative to give us the stories like they were doing before. Chikule, we were still able to ask them what is going on, how do we explain this and that. If you were to ask me about the process, maybe I will talk at length, but for that particular day, this is what transpired.
Yeah, exactly your point, the process, because information given out, actually, how did it make, the processes of, the peace deal go smoothly, but also for the people to appreciate that, yes, the information they received was a correct one.
Yeah, it was just like any other story that a journalist would do. Maybe times have changed now. It was quite interesting when the government teams and that of the, Unrf too had the political arm, and then they had, I think, the military wing and so forth like that. The process started, and meetings will be held at the presidential lodge in Arua, and on terms, the Unrf too had their lawyers who were part of our society, including Kalebu Alaka, whom they trusted with others to do the midwife role in delivering this peace. But it was not as smooth as I speak. At some point, rumors were rife here that the peace agreement, the peace was almost collapsing, because when General Bamze and his other officials and officers were in Arua, the rumor was that the camp in Bidibidi, where they had been asked to settle as the peace processes go on, was left in the command of Antes Assembly. So one time, I think the political commissar then, Kale Kahura, who later became IGP, went to deliver a message of the government to the combatants. Rumor had it that Antes, who was in command, directed people who are under him to frog march Kahura from the quarter guard to the high command. And when that news spread, and rumors were wild that government was really very displeased with it, and we were thinking of bombarding and just exterminating all those combatants who had conversed in the Bidibidi. Personally, I tried to follow up. I knew where Bamze was in Arua, so I went. He was staying in a lodge somewhere in town, so I dashed there to him, and you could clearly see that the general was shaken. I know it was battle hardened, but at that particular point, you could physically see that the body language showed that this is not something he had really thought about. I tried to ask him what exactly was going on, and he indicated that he would not say anything for fear of either being misunderstood or something. But thank God that day passed, and despite those challenges, the peace talks continued at the presidential lodge in Mbara up to the time when parties all agreed that it was okay. And for us, this was constant reporting that today the agreements have reached a step, and in a number of days they are going to seal it, and this agreement is getting close. And this helped to keep the audience and the people of West Nile generally very hopeful that peace that they long for will be ushered in very soon, and that's what happened.
On 12th of this month, we'll be heading to Yumbe, and what does this mean, especially for the people of West Nile, but also you who participated in reporting, especially the peace agreement and its processes up to implementation, up to today that we are seeing people coming to celebrate? What does this mean for you as a journalist who participated in this process?
Thank you. Like I said before, I may not now know how far. The agreement was a strong agreement, but it was very, what do I say? The paperwork, it wasn't huge on paperwork, but huge in its terms. I think 8 articles or something like that, which were really very concrete. Along the way, I used to mix with the boys. We had if you were talking about NRM, we'll be talking about Kadogos. There were some youthful boys who joined the ranks of this Unrf too. After the rebel group was disbanded following the peace agreement, they came to town doing odd things like working in hair salons and so forth. But every time I meet them, they would sometimes complain that they haven't received part of their share of the 4.2 billion government sweetener. And they would always want to say, maybe, when are you coming to interview us? When are you doing a story to show that we are in this kind of state? So it meant that even though the government was able to deliver at that time on some of the promises made in this agreement, maybe some were not. But most importantly for the people here, the peace was ushered. We never had any rebellions after that agreement. And for me, peace could be the most important thing for now. But on the side of the government, I would add my voice and say maybe the government needs to do stock taking on what they have been able to deliver and accomplish it to 100% now, because these have been more than a decade ever since this peace agreement was signed. Now I'm talking to you, you can really see this is not how my face was those years. I was much younger, but now you see time has taken its toll on us and we're going. And in the same vein, we would ask that maybe government takes its stock of the promises and delivers, so that it's a win-win for the people of West Nile, for the people of Uganda, and for government generally, because that's all we hoped for, that there should be peace in West Nile, and peace we already have, I think.
As we sign out, as an active journalist then, and now, yeah, as we sign out, as active journalist then, I would say now you're a beneficiary of this peace agreement, because Moni University, where you're now a communications officer, is one of the peace deals that many people may not see, but the university is here. What will be your advice to the young generation now, who many times say there's no job, they sit by the roadsides, and yet the prevailing peace provides innovative opportunities with the ICT hub in Moni University? What message do you have for them?
Well, this is an open check, and I will not hesitate to write on it. Of course, now you have actually answered the question. It's true, like we are talking about the processes of the peace deal, and one can really, with all degree of truth, say that Moni University is part of the major peace agreement, because the same elders who added their voice to the peace negotiations are the same who presented their petition to the president that let there be a university in the West Nile region, a public university. The Vice Chancellor now normally says that the first meeting the elders indicated the agenda of the meeting was one, that we need a public university in Uganda. Then the next meeting, there were two items on the agenda. The first one was we need a public university in West Nile. The next agenda was we need a public university in West Nile, and the third agenda of that meeting item in that agenda was we need a public university in West Nile. So now that we have this public university here, I think it is part of the wider infrastructure development that has come into place as a result of the peace that is prevailing. If there was no peace like it was then, I guess by now there would still be a public university. I am proud to associate with the Moni University where I work now, that if you take time to go to the university, it is it is booming with a number of activities and innovations. It should be the daughters, their sons partake in this opportunity of joining university. Like you rightly said, we have the Innovation Business Incubation Center. Even if you haven't gone very far with your education and you have very innovative ideas, you can go there for incubation, and they will guide you on how best your ideas can materialize. And all this, I should say, a part of not only Moon University, there are many other educational institutions, and you also see how other places like Rural Hospital, even Yume Hospital now, if you go there, it has been raised to another status, both in terms of service delivery and in terms of the physical infrastructure that is developed in that area. And I'm quite sure if this peace was not signed and we still had the rebels sneaking in to destabilize the populace and so forth, maybe such things will not be there. So let us not take this peace for granted. And if we're going there to commemorate the Peace Day, I would like to salute everyone who participated in ushering this peace. There were civilians as well. We remember the late Frank Innocent Nakuta, who was head of the political wing, not head, but was in the leadership of the political wing. We remember people like Zubairi, I don't know his other name, he's also working in local government. He has retired, he worked there as an accountant. We remember Caleb himself as the lead counsel. We remember former Minister Zo Bakoru, who was very pivotal. Many and many others who took it upon themselves to ensure that this peace sees the day like it's seen today. I'm so happy. I salute you all.
Okay, thank you so much.